Good afternoon, Sean here from Mountains Garage. I woke up early this Sunday morning, decided I was going to work on the 6 liter for the 72 Nova. Because for some reason, scraping and chipping rust off the side of the block sounded like a good time. So I did just that, armed with a hammer, a chisel, a couple screwdrivers, and a scraper, and my rolly chair. I spent a couple hours chipping away at it. I have an air-powered needle scaler, and I hadn't used it in a while. I oiled it up, plugged it in. It ran about 15 seconds, and that was the end of it. So now I need to rebuild that. Probably a blessing in disguise, because as I said, it was early Sunday morning. And my neighbors are quite a distance away, but still, I'm sure that noise travels. Before I went inside for breakfast, I soaked the crank sensor, and when I came back out, managed to wiggle it out of the hole. I'm still working on a few miscellaneous plugs. The block itself, I'm excited to try touching up the hone on the cylinder walls, but you can still see whatever device they machine the main line hone with. That's oil. The block looks fantastic so far. The bearings look perfect, and I'm gonna think about, while I'm working on the rest of it, cleaning it up, why I shouldn't reuse these. There's absolutely no reason not to. The driver's side still had mostly paint that flaked off. It had long since flaked off the passenger side, and it was some pretty heavy rust. I wish I had weighed it all. Definitely a lightweight racing block now. So my short-term goal today is to get the cylinder walls honed, all the gasket surfaces clean, and all the junk off the block that I possibly can before I wash it. It's going to need cam bearings, I can already see that, but I guess they all do. But I actually have several sets, I believe, so there's a year break. I got to figure out the exact year of the block. Same with the head bolts, I haven't determined that yet. But I will, I'll figure that out. And my goal is to only wash it in the parts washer one time. Then maybe clean it one more time with solvent, my air solvent, my gun, and then paint it and start slamming in used parts. This particular area of the block was especially rusty, to the point that the cross bolt for the main cap, I had to drive a 9mm over it. It's supposed to be 10. The other 9 came right out. This one gave me a little trouble, but no big deal. I have a couple of parts blocks. I didn't want to end up with a couple of parts blocks. I bought a long crank 4.8 and a 5.3 from a guy who claimed they were always stored inside. And when I got them home, they were full of water. Good thing they were cheap. But that long crank 4.8 has low mileage, so I think that's where my lifters are going to come from. My oil pump, miscellaneous bolts, hardware, whatever I need. Probably the cylinder heads. So, in the end, it'll be a win. That particular day, it didn't look like it, but today, I can see that it's cheap parts. For something as antiquated as the old ball hone, it sure does work nice. All I've done so far is just touch up the bores. My goal wasn't to make them any bigger, just to clean them up. These back two had rust. In fact, I got to clean off the lifter bore. That one lifter bore has a little rust in it, but that'll clean up. So this side looks good. This side looks good as well. I've measured all the bores with my dial bore gauge. Now, 1 second I'm talking about reusing bearings. The next minute I'm measuring cylinder taper and out around. This block is pretty well round, and it has pretty much zero wear. But let me grab my light. Cylinder number 7 has what appears to be aluminum stuck to it. I've been trying to sand it a little bit to see what it is. That's when I got out the dial bore gauge to see how much I could actually hone it out, see if I can make it disappear. It's the next day. I took a break yesterday before continuing on cylinder number 7 because I wanted to do a little research and take a nap. So I did that. Aluminum transfer happens a lot with 2 strokes, and the cure apparently is some muriatic acid, nasty stuff, Not really. You put it in a pool to condition the pH. You can clean cement with it. In this case, I needed enough to wet a Q-tip, and all I could find was a quart at the hardware store, but it was only $4.29 plus tax. So I came home, got some Q-tips, and put it on what was remaining of the aluminum on the cylinder. And I wouldn't say anything really dramatic happened. I didn't see any, I guess I saw some minor bubbling. I gave it a few minutes. You're not supposed to let it dry. And then I wiped it off and immediately went to honing. When I measured the cylinders, that scratches it up a little bit with a dial bore gauge. I wasn't being particularly careful because I knew I had only deglazed it and I was going to hone each cylinder one more time. Because you can really go at it with the old dingle ball. And you're not really, at least on an LS block, they're pretty hard. You can go quite a ways. So I went about 40 more strokes. And at the end, I slow down my RPM and increase my travel speed. Because you're looking for a 30 to 45 degree cross pattern, if possible. I grabbed the first penetrating oil or WD-40 type stuff I could find. In this case, it was 336. I like this stuff. It's got a good smell. Not quite as diesel fuel-ish, if you will, compared to WD-40. I don't mind WD-40 either. I used a brake cylinder hone, a small one, just touch up that one lifter bore that had a little rust in it. There was some water obviously gone down over the back of the engine. And I'm still on my original Rolock gasket surfacer that I was using on the 383. So it's definitely looking a little bit better. I'm done messing with the cylinders. And number 7 is now a minor blemish. You can't really feel it. Probably oil will hang in it, I'm not sure, but I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Measuring the pistons, I had showed you. Actually, I'll show you the piston in a second, but you know, they have that coating on them, and they're still going to run relatively tight in the bore, no matter how long I held on with the dingleberry. That really doesn't remove a lot of material. It just cleans it up. But I'm happy with my cross hatching. Again, we're not looking for perfection here, because I'm going to be tuning it, and I'll probably melt the pistons right out of it first thing. I'm pretty sure I showed you I had them all assembled. Like I say, the coating is worn, but the piston itself really isn't. So these are going to run about 1.5 thousandths clearance. They put that coating on there to get rid of that unrepairable engine noise, like for instance my LS Dodge Gen 3 engine suffers from, that doesn't have that coating. Most of this coating's worn away. I don't care if this is noisy cold at all. It goes right away. And again, with my honing job, I'm using the stock rings. I'm going to put them right back in when I clean them up. So everything in this box is just parts I'm collecting. Got my valve springs. I have a lot of boxes of stuff. Again, everything needs to go together. It just starts piling up otherwise. That's my oil pan. Probably the header I'm going to run on the driver's side when I build my turbo kit. Motor mounts, etc. So the next time you see this block, hopefully it'll be clean and painted and ready for assembly. My big brother always gave me some great gifts. When I was a teenager, showing interest in cars and whatnot, he started me off with measuring tools by buying me this Lufkin 0 to 1 micrometer. Over the years, I've collected, and you can get some pretty good deals on it, an assortment of measuring devices. Most of them aren't that fancy. This is a central dial bore gauge and a central 4 to 5 inch mic. It is made in America. You can find this stuff online pretty reasonable. People selling, you know, their grandfather's tools or whatever. To run a dial bore gauge, they make a much fancier mic holder than a vise, but I just gently hold it in there. And you assemble enough extensions on the dial bore gauge to be in the range you want to measure, and that center post slides in and out, so you'd set it in there and zero it to 4-inch. In my case, my bore is 4-inch. Whatever you're going to measure. So that's your standard. You set that to the dimension you want to measure. You zero the dial bore gauge, and when you actually put it in the bore, it'll show you how far from zero, plus or minus, you are. It's a simple rig, but I love measuring tools. I don't always like the results, but they are fun to play with. So if you've watched this far, and I hope you have, a lot of people don't watch to the end of videos, and I don't totally get that. I do. I guess that's how my brain works. I have to see the end. I don't want to miss anything. However, you're probably wondering why there's aluminum in cylinder number 7. So was I originally, but then I thought about where I got all that stuff. It came through a friend of a friend from a guy who went through a bad spell with his Turbo Silverado. He put a lot of motors in it and melted a lot of them down. So I'm sure that cylinder number 7 has been cooked. And that's aluminum from another set of pistons. Fortunately, I don't see any other damage on the block. And I got it for free. Crankshaft's nice. Hey, she's going together. I have the 6-liter and 3 small blocks I need to assemble in the next few months. I don't know how much of that I'm going to film. It's definitely different stages. One of them's all brand new, except for the remachined block, of course. The other one is really good used parts, the 421 that I'm going to do. Another 350 I got to do for somebody else. I'll probably just blow through that. I got to buy some parts for it, but that's nothing spectacular. And this 6-liter is nothing but junk. But that's kind of fun. That's probably the most fun. It'll probably make the most power. Hopefully I don't hurt it. If I do, I'll fix it or replace it. I got a whole shed full of them. That's intriguing. I know a lot of people are very riveted one side or the other on LS swaps. I like them. I like small blocks. I like big blocks. So I even like other brands. That probably makes me strange as well. When it comes to engine assembly, you have your machine shop guy who's really good at what he does, and he's only going to do it 100%, correct and machine everything. I'm not that guy. I don't have a machine shop. I'm not a sloppy mechanics guy that's going to impact it together. I can junkyard if I have to. That's the stories for another day. I worked flat rate for a while. I actually went through a spell where I was all about making it 100% mechanical and not about cosmetics. As I look back, this was pre-rat rod stuff. I was doing it, but only under the hood. The outside of the vehicle still looked good, but I once built a 396 and never even painted it. It drove people nuts. Didn't bother me a bit. I was just, when you work flat rate, you just 100% fixing it. You have to fix it right so it doesn't come back. That transferred right into what I was doing for myself. I was building engines during my break time, lunchtime, and after work for myself and whatnot. So you just got into just doing it, and it's so much faster. This whole having to make everything look nice is a pain in the butt. I like it all, but I'm kind of looking forward to this year taking some of my other projects that aren't going to be that fancy, and I think they move a lot faster. We'll see. So anyway, I'm going to call it a day. Thanks for watching. The next video, I don't know. I promised I'd make the 71 Nova run. We're headed for a big snowstorm tonight. They have all kinds of storm warnings up. Get your milk and bread. Hunker down for 6 or 8 inches of snow. High winds, I guess, but we're not going to go anywhere. The tractor's ready to go. I'm ready to plow snow. It's been an excellent winter. It's already February 1st. The snow around this part, it's all gone by March and April, so the end is near. We're going to be back into decent weather in the blink of an eye. The Daytona 500's in like 2 weeks. My birthday's in 3 weeks. To me, that's spring. So, catch you next time. Like and subscribe if you can. It's free. Thanks. Bye.